6 months had passed since the Velkorian fleet's humiliating defeat. The Galactic Council station had never been busier. Diplomats from every species rushed through the corridors, carrying messages and proposals. Trade agreements were being renegotiated. Defense pacts were being reconsidered. The entire political structure of known space was shifting, and at the center of it all sat humanity. Ambassador Hana walked into the council chamber with Captain Deho at her side. Both wore formal dress uniforms now, dark blue with silver trim. They looked confident, powerful, nothing like the humble diplomats who had sat in this same room 6 months ago accepting ultimatums. The chamber itself had changed. Earth now had a full seat at the table, equal to every other species. The human flag hung from the ceiling alongside the banners of the Velkorians, Lumens, Chitons, and others. No one had voted to give humanity this seat. They had simply taken it and no one dared object. Councillor Nari watched the humans enter with barely concealed anger. The Chiton collective had lost significant influence since the incident at Earth. Several smaller species that had once paid tribute to the Chitons were now seeking protection from humans instead. Ambassador Yuna, on the other hand, looked pleased. The Drifters had been among the first to establish friendly relations with the newly revealed Earth, and they had profited greatly from it. Human technology was being shared selectively, and the Drifters had received access to advanced medical devices that were decades beyond galactic standards. The Lumen representative flickered into existence at their position. Ambassador Hana, Captain Deho, the Council recognizes Earth. Hana stood. Thank you. Today we come to finalize the treaties that have been under discussion for the past 6 months. I believe all parties have reviewed the terms. Heads nodded around the table. The treaties were simple but revolutionary. Earth would be recognized as a sovereign power with full territorial rights. No species would claim dominance over human space. In return, Earth would share select technologies and provide military protection to smaller species who requested it. However, Hana continued, there is one more matter we need to address. The Council attempted to conquer Earth based on the assumption that we were weak. We have proven otherwise. But strength alone does not build lasting peace. Trust builds peace, and trust requires honesty. She pressed a button on the table. A holographic display appeared, showing a detailed schematic of human space. It showed Earth, its colonies, its official military installations. But it also showed something new. These markers represent human facilities that we have kept hidden, Hana explained. The display lit up with hundreds of green dots scattered throughout dark space. Research stations, defense platforms, monitoring bases. We built them in secret because we didn't trust the galaxy. We still don't fully trust you, but we're willing to acknowledge their existence as a gesture of good faith. Councillor Nari clicked her mandibles in agitation. How many facilities total? 473, Hana replied. That we're willing to tell you about. The implication was clear. There were more. Humanity was revealing some secrets while keeping others hidden. The message was diplomatic but firm. We're sharing what we choose to share, and you should be grateful for that much. Observer Sora flickered with curiosity. The Lumen had spent months analyzing human activities and had developed a theory that humanity was building something massive, something beyond the Ghost Fleet. But Sora had no proof, and asking directly seemed unwise. We accept this disclosure, the Lumen representative said carefully, and we propose full diplomatic relations between Earth and the Lumen Collective. We believe humanity's unique perspective could benefit galactic science. We agree, Hana said. Earth is interested in cultural and scientific exchange with all peaceful species. The Etherian delegate spoke next. The Etherian Empire wishes to formalize a mutual defense pact with Earth. We face threats from regions of space where human skills would be valuable. We're willing to discuss terms, Hana replied. One by one, species that had once dismissed humanity as primitive now offered partnerships, trade agreements, and alliances. The Confederation of Free Worlds wanted to hire human security forces to protect their border colonies. The Drifters proposed joint exploration missions into uncharted regions. Even some Velkorian colonies, acting independently of their weakened empire, sent messages seeking better relations with Earth. The galaxy had learned its lesson. Humanity was not weak. They were patient, strategic, and dangerous, and they were here to stay. After the council session, Hana and Deho returned to the Horizon Dawn. The ship was no longer just a diplomatic vessel. It had been upgraded with the latest human military technology, and now served as both embassy and warship. In the captain's quarters, Deho poured 2 glasses of water and handed one to Hana. "We did it," he said. "Earth is safe. The galaxy respects us. Maybe we can finally relax." Hana smiled but shook her head. "You don't really believe that." "No," Deho admitted. "I don't. Director Jiwan always says that safety is temporary. The galaxy will accept us as long as they fear us. The moment they stop fearing us, they'll start testing us again. So we keep building," Hana said. "We keep building. On Earth, in the secret facility that housed Phase 2 of humanity's long-term defense strategy." Director G1 stood on an observation platform overlooking something that defied imagination. The construction project had been running for 25 years, consuming resources from mining operations scattered across a dozen systems. Commander Taeyang joined her on the platform. "The council meeting went well, I hear." "Better than expected," Jiwan replied. "Hana managed to establish Earth as an equal power without revealing too much. The galaxy thinks they understand us now. They think the Ghost Fleet is our main asset." "They don't know about this," Taeyang said, gesturing to the massive structure below them. "No, and they won't until we decide to tell them. If we decide to tell them." The structure was enormous, a ring of metal and crystal that stretched for hundreds of miles. It was being built in sections, each one manufactured in secret and assembled in the darkness between stars. When complete, it would be humanity's ultimate insurance policy. Dr. Suji approached them carrying a tablet. "We're ahead of schedule. Another 15 years and the project will be operational. What do we tell the council in the meantime?" Taeyang asked. "They're already suspicious. Observer Sora has been asking questions about our resource usage." "We tell them nothing," Ji-won said firmly. "Let them be suspicious. Let them wonder. Uncertainty is a weapon too." Far from Earth, in the Kuiper Belt where few ships ever traveled, massive construction vessels worked on the outer sections of the ring. These vessels were larger than cities, automated factories that could process raw materials and assemble components without any organic crew. They had been operating for decades in complete secrecy. Sergeant Junho commanded a small security team that patrolled the construction site. His job was to make sure no unauthorized ships approached the area. In 20 years, they had never encountered an intruder. Humanity had chosen this location carefully, far from trade routes and established territories. "Do you ever wonder what we're building?" asked one of Junho's soldiers, a young woman named Yunji. Junho shrugged. "Above my pay grade. I know it's important. I know Director Ji-won says it's critical for humanity's survival. That's enough for me. But don't you want to know?" "Not particularly. My job is to make sure no one else finds out. The details don't matter." Yunji looked at the massive structure floating in the darkness. "It's beautiful, though. Whatever it is." "Yeah," Junho agreed. "It is." Back at the Galactic Council Station, Ambassador Yuna arranged a private meeting with Hana. The drifter diplomat was one of the few non-humans that Hana genuinely liked. Yuna had always treated humanity with respect, even when Earth was supposedly weak. "I wanted to ask you something," Yuna said as they sat in a quiet cafe on the station, unofficially between friends. "Go ahead," Hana replied. "What are you really building out there? In the dark spaces where your ships go but never report their activities?" Hana sipped her tea calmly. "Research facilities, defense platforms, mining operations. I've been honest about that." "Yes, but what else?" Yuna pressed. "The amount of resources flowing into those regions suggests something beyond simple installations. Something big. Something that requires decades of construction." Hana met Yuna's eyes. "If I told you that some questions are better left unasked, would you respect that?" Yuna was quiet for a moment. Then she nodded slowly. "I suppose I would. But Hana, as a friend, I have to tell you something. The galaxy is nervous. Not just about your military strength, but about your secrecy. Some species are starting to wonder if you're building weapons that could threaten everyone." "Are we?" Hana asked. "I don't know. That's what worries people." Hana leaned back in her chair. "Let me tell you a story. When humans first walked on their planet, they were prey. Everything hunted them. They were slow, weak, had no claws or fangs. But they survived by being smart. They learned to make tools, build shelters, hide from predators. Eventually, they became the hunters. I know human history, Una said. Then you know that humans learned an important lesson. The species that survives is not the strongest or the fastest. The Valkorian war fleet arrived exactly 72 hours after the ultimatum. They came out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of Earth's solar system, their ships emerging from ripples in space like sharks rising from dark water. 800 vessels, each one bristling with weapons and armored in plates of living metal that could repair itself during battle. War Marshal Thexnor stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Endless Conquest. Through the massive viewscreen, he could see Earth in the distance, a small blue dot orbiting its yellow star. Around it floated the pitiful human defense fleet, 30 old ships poorly armed, barely a threat to a single Valkorian destroyer. Pathetic, Thexnor muttered. His officers nodded in agreement. Shall we contact them? His communications officer asked. Yes. Let's hear what excuse they've prepared for their surrender. On Earth, in a command center buried beneath what used to be the Rocky Mountains, Director Jiwan watched the Valkorian fleet on her screens. Around her, hundreds of military personnel worked at their stations, coordinating the defense of humanity's home system. But they were calm. Nobody was panicking. Admiral Bora stood next to Jiwan. She was the commander of Earth's official defense force, the woman who had spent 50 years pretending to lead a weak military. They're in position, Bora said. Right where we wanted them. Ambassador Hana's face appeared on a screen. She was back on the Horizon Dawn, positioned between Earth and the Valkorian fleet. They're hailing us, she said. Put them through, Jiwan ordered. Thexanor's reptilian face filled the screen. His yellow eyes gleamed with satisfaction. Ambassador Hana, I trust you've brought us Earth's surrender. Hana's expression was perfectly calm. War Marshal Thexnor, the people of Earth have considered your offer carefully. We have discussed it with every government, every leader, every citizen who wanted to voice their opinion. And, Thexnor leaned forward, we decline, silence. For 3 full seconds, nobody on the Valkorian flagship spoke. Then Thexnor laughed, a deep rumbling sound that made his officers join in. You decline? You decline? Little human, do you see my fleet? 800 warships, each one capable of destroying your primitive vessels with a single shot. Do you see? I see them, Hana replied. They're very impressive. Then you understand that you have no choice. You surrender, or we will demonstrate our power. We will destroy your Mars colony as a lesson. We will kill everyone there, men, women, children. All of them will die because of your pride. Captain Deho appeared next to Hana on the screen. He was in full military uniform now, medals on his chest, rank insignia on his shoulders. You're making a mistake, he said simply. Thexnor stopped laughing. I am making a mistake? You have 30 ships. I have 800. Where is the mistake? You'll see, Deho said. Thexnor snarled. Fire on Mars colony. Destroy the dome cities. Show these humans what happens when they refuse the generous offer of the Valkorian Empire. On the Endless Conquest, weapons officers rushed to their stations, targeting computers locked onto Mars, calculating trajectories for the massive energy weapons that could crack a planet's crust, capacitors charged with power. Launch tubes prepared missiles. The Valkorian fleet was about to show Earth what real military might look like. Then everything stopped working. The weapons didn't fire. The targeting computers went black. The ship's shields flickered and died. The engines lost power. On the bridge, every screen showed the same message in Valkorian script. System locked. What's happening? Thexnor roared. Get the weapons back online. His officers tried. They pressed buttons, entered commands, shouted at their computers. Nothing worked. And it wasn't just the flagship. Reports came in from every ship in the fleet. All 800 vessels were dead in space. No weapons, no shields, no engines. They were floating coffins filled with confused and angry Valkorians. It's the humans, an officer shouted. They've hacked our systems. Impossible, Thexnor snapped. Our encryption is military grade. Our systems are isolated. How could they? A new voice came through the communication system. It was calm, almost friendly. War Marshal Thexnor, this is Captain Hun of the Earth vessel Phantom's Edge. I wanted to let you know that we've been inside your computer systems for approximately 47 years. Every software update you've installed, every security patch, every diagnostic tool, we put our code in all of it. You've been flying our ships this whole time. You just didn't know it. Thexnor grabbed the communication console. Show yourself! Where are you? Right behind you. On every screen in the Velkorian fleet, the view changed. Space twisted and rippled, and ships appeared. They materialized like ghosts, becoming solid. 2,000 human warships that had been there all along, invisible, waiting. They surrounded the Velkorian fleet in perfect formation, weapons aimed, ready to fire. The ghost fleet had decloaked. On Earth, in the command center, Commander Taeyang allowed himself a small smile. All ships report ready, Director. We have complete control of the situation. Good, Jiwan said. Open a channel to every Velkorian ship. Let them all hear this. Captain Deho's voice went out to the entire fleet. People of the Velkorian Empire, you came here to conquer us. You came here thinking we were weak, that we were helpless, that we needed your protection. You were wrong. On the endless conquest, Thexnor watched the human ships with growing horror. They were everywhere. Beautiful, deadly machines that moved with precision his own fleet could never match. How? He whispered. How did you build all this? We're good at keeping secrets, Deho replied. It's a human trait. We learned it on a planet that tried to kill us every single day. We learned to hide from predators. We learned to wait for the perfect moment. We learned that sometimes the best weapon is the one your enemy doesn't know you have. Ambassador Hana's voice joined the broadcast. War Marshal, you have two choices. You can fight us with disabled ships and lose everything, or you can accept our terms. Terms? Thexnor sounded defeated already. You will order your crews to stand down. We will board your ships and take control of them. You will be treated as prisoners of war, and when we're done, we will send you home with a message for your empire and for the Galactic Council. And what message is that? Thexnor asked. Leave humanity alone, Hana said simply. Tell them what happened here. Tell them about the fleet they didn't know existed. Tell them about the systems we've infiltrated. Tell them that Earth is not a weak species begging for protection. We're a species that has been holding back, waiting, planning, and if anyone threatens us again, we won't just defend ourselves. We'll show them what humans are really capable of. Dr. Suji's voice came through on a private channel that only Thexnor could hear. I want you to understand something, War Marshal. Your species evolved on a paradise world. Warm sun, gentle rain, abundant food. You became strong through easy living. Humans evolved on Earth. A death world where storms could destroy cities, where diseases could kill millions, where we had to fight for every meal. We didn't become strong. We became survivors. There's a difference. On the human ships, boarding teams prepared to launch. Sergeant Junho stood with his squad in the assault bay of their ship, checking weapons and armor. They wore black combat suits that enhanced their strength and protected them from vacuum. Each soldier had trained for this moment since they were teenagers. Remember the rules, Junho told his team. We take prisoners. We don't kill unless we have to. The goal is to show them we're better than they are. Not just stronger, better. The boarding pods launched, thousands of them, streaming from the ghost fleet toward the disabled Velkorian ships. They attached to airlocks and hull plates with magnetic clamps. Cutting torches activated. Within minutes, human soldiers were pouring into 800 ships simultaneously. The Velkorians tried to fight. They were warriors, after all, proud and fierce. But they were fighting in cramped corridors against an enemy that had trained for exactly this scenario. The humans moved with perfect coordination, using tactics that confused and overwhelmed the larger, stronger Velkorians. Junho's team cleared 3 decks in 20 minutes. The Velkorians they captured were zip-tied and left in cargo bays under guard. None were killed. That was important. Humanity needed to send a message, and the message was, we could have destroyed you, but we chose not to. Remember our mercy. On the bridge of the Endless Conquest, Thexnor watched his crew surrender to a squad of human soldiers led by a young woman with lieutenant's bars on her shoulders. Her name was Minseo, and she moved like a predator, quick and efficient. The ship is ours, War Marshal, Minseo said. Please come with me. Thexnor looked at the screens showing his dead fleet, his captured crews, his complete and utter defeat. In his 300 years of life, he had never lost a battle. Now he had lost in less than an hour against a species he had thought was primitive. How? He asked again. Minseo smiled. We're humans. This is what we do. We survive. 6 hours after the Velkorian fleet arrived, every single ship was under human control. Not one Velkorian soldier had died. They were all prisoners, all alive, all forced to face the reality that they had been completely outmatched. Director Jiwon stood in the command center and watched the reports come in. Every ship captured. 0 human casualties. The plan had worked perfectly. "Send them home," she ordered. "Put skeleton crews on their ships to fly the here." The news spread through the galaxy like wildfire. Within hours of the Valkorian fleet's defeat, every civilized world knew what had happened at Earth. The story seemed impossible at first. A weak species had somehow defeated the Valkorian Empire's war fleet without firing a single shot. 800 ships disabled and captured, not one human casualty reported. On the Galactic Council station, chaos erupted. Counselor Nari of the Chiton Collective slammed 3 of her 6 arms on the table. "This is impossible." The humans had 30 ships. How do you lose 800 ships to 30? The Lumen representative flickered with agitated light. They didn't have 30 ships. They had thousands. They've been hiding them this entire time. The question is, what else have they been hiding? A recording played on the council chamber's central display. It showed the ghost fleet decloaking around the Valkorian armada. Ship after ship materializing from nothing, appearing like phantoms given form. The council members watched in stunned silence as the footage showed human soldiers boarding Valkorian vessels with military precision that no one had expected from Earth. War Marshal Thexnor stood in the center of the chamber, his scales dull with shame. He had been released by the humans and sent back with the rest of his captured fleet. Now he had to explain his failure to the entire Galactic Council. "They were inside our systems," Thexnor said quietly. "For years. Decades, perhaps. Every security update we installed, every new protocol we implemented. They had planted code in all of it. When they activated it, we were helpless, dead in space. But how?" demanded a delegate from the Etherian Empire. "Valkorian military encryption is supposed to be unbreakable." "Apparently not to humans," Thexnor replied bitterly. Another voice spoke from the doorway. Ambassador Yuna of the Drifter species entered the chamber slowly. The Drifters were a peaceful race, traders and diplomats who rarely involved themselves in military matters. But Yuna looked worried. "I have been reviewing all of our interactions with humanity over the past 50 years, Yuna said. "I found something disturbing. Every species has traded technology with Earth. We gave them scanning devices, power generators, medical equipment. We thought we were helping a primitive species catch up to galactic standards." "What's your point?" Counselor Nari asked. "My point is that we showed them how all of our technology works. We gave them blueprints and schematics, access to our computer systems for compatibility testing. The humans studied everything we gave them. They learned how we build our ships, our weapons, our defenses, and then they figured out how to defeat them." The council chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. They had been teaching humanity how to destroy them. A crystalline lumen called Observer Sora projected data into the air. "I have analyzed human colonization patterns over the past 50 years. Look at this map." The display showed known space with colored markers. Blue dots represented human colonies that the galaxy knew about. There were perhaps 20 of them, small settlements on modest worlds. But then green dots appeared, scattered throughout the dark spaces between established territories. "These green markers," Sora explained, "are locations where we detected unusual quantum signatures that don't match natural phenomena. When I cross-referenced them with human ship traffic patterns, I found something interesting. Human vessels frequently travel to these regions, always under the excuse of exploration or research, but they stay too long. They build structures. They establish permanent presence." "How many green markers are there?" asked the Etherian delegate. "Hundreds," Sora replied. "Possibly thousands, and these are only the ones we can detect. If their ships can stay cloaked, if their technology is decades ahead of what they've shown us, how many more installations do they have that we cannot see?" Counselor Nari made a chittering sound of distress. "Are you saying humans have been expanding into dark space this entire time? Building a secret empire while pretending to be weak? That is exactly what I'm saying," Sora confirmed. An emergency vote was called. Counselor Nari proposed immediate military action against Earth before they became too powerful to stop. "We must strike now," she insisted. "Every day we wait, they grow stronger. We know where Earth is. We can unite our fleets and what?" Ambassador Yuna interrupted. "Send our ships to fight an enemy that can disable them with the push of a button? An enemy that has infiltrated our computer systems? An enemy that may have 10 times as many ships as they've shown us?" The vote failed. Only the Chiton Collective voted for war. The rest abstained or voted against it. No one wanted to be the next War Marshal Thexnor, returning home in shame with a captured fleet. Instead, 3 major powers decided on a different approach. The Lumens, the Etherean Empire, and the Confederation of Free Worlds would each send diplomatic envoys to Earth. Not to threaten, to negotiate. On Earth, Director Jiwan received the news with satisfaction. She sat in her office deep beneath the mountains, reviewing reports from across the solar system. Admiral Bora was with her along with Dr. Suji and Commander Taiyang. 3 diplomatic missions, Bora said, reading from a tablet. The Lumens want to discuss technology sharing. The Etherians want to propose a mutual defense pact. The Confederation wants to hire us as security contractors. They're all afraid, Dr. Suji observed. They thought they knew where they stood in the galactic hierarchy. Now everything has changed and they're scrambling to figure out their new position. Jiwan nodded. Good. Fear makes them careful. Careful means they won't threaten us again. What about the Valkorians? Taeyang asked. They're the ones who started this. What's happening in their empire? Jiwan pulled up classified intelligence reports. Their government is in crisis. War Marshal Thexnor has been stripped of his rank and exiled. The Emperor is facing calls to resign. Their military is reviewing every system, trying to find and remove our code. They won't find all of it. We made sure of that. And the other species? What are they doing? Bora wanted to know. They're all doing the same thing, Dr. Suji replied. She pulled up a map showing galactic communication traffic. It was lit up like a fireworks display. Every species is contacting every other species. They're sharing intelligence, comparing notes, trying to figure out exactly what humanity is capable of. Some of them are reviewing their own computer systems, looking for hidden code. Others are repositioning their fleets to defend critical systems. The galaxy is nervous, Jiwan said with satisfaction. A message arrived on Jiwan's secure terminal. She read it and smiled. Ambassador Hana is returning from a meeting with President. She's been authorized to speak with the incoming diplomatic missions. We're about to establish new terms with the galactic community. What kind of terms? Taiyang asked. The kind that ensure no one ever threatens Earth again, Jiwan replied. In orbit around Earth, Captain Deho walked through the corridors of his ship. The horizon dawned. The crew was celebrating their victory, but Deho felt thoughtful rather than joyful. He found Lieutenant Minseo in the observation deck looking out at Earth through the large window. Something on your mind, Captain? Minseo asked. Deho joined her at the window. We revealed ourselves today. After 50 years of hiding, we showed the galaxy who we really are, or at least we showed them part of it. You think we should have stayed hidden longer? No, Deho said. The Valkorians forced our hand. This was always going to happen eventually. I'm just wondering what comes next. The galaxy will never trust us again. Good, Minseo replied, echoing Jiwan's earlier sentiment. Trust is for equals. We don't need their trust. We need their respect. And their fear? That too. Deho smiled slightly. You sound like Commander Taiyang. He trained me well. They watched Earth in silence for a moment. The blue planet looked peaceful from space, but both of them knew the truth. Earth was a crucible that had forged humanity into survivors, into fighters, into a species that could hide in shadows and strike when least expected. Do you think we'll have to fight again? Minseo asked. Probably, Deho admitted, but not soon. The galaxy just learned a hard lesson. They'll think twice before threatening us. And in the meantime, we keep building, keep planning, keep preparing for whatever comes next. Back on the Galactic Council Station, Observer Sora worked alone in a dark room, analyzing data, the crystalline being processed information faster than any organic mind could manage, running calculations and simulations at light speed. The question that haunted Sora was simple but terrifying. If humanity had hidden a fleet of 2,000 ships, what else were they hiding? Sora pulled up resource consumption data from Earth and its colonies. The numbers didn't add up. Humanity was using more raw materials than their known infrastructure required. Mining operations pulled up more ore than their known shipyards needed. Energy production exceeded the demands of their known facilities by a significant margin. Where was it all going? Sora created a model showing human expansion patterns and resource usage over 50 years. The computer built projections based on the data, and the answer that emerged was disturbing. If humanity had been building the Ghost Fleet for 40 years using hidden resources, And if they still had excess production capacity, then they were building something else, something bigger. So, the moon base looked ordinary from the outside. Just a collection of gray domes and metal structures built into the craters. Ships came and went regularly, carrying supplies and personnel. To any alien observer, it was exactly what it appeared to be. A simple military outpost for Earth's small defense force. Captain Daho guided the Horizon Dawn into a landing bay on the dark side of the moon, far from any satellite or monitoring station. The bay doors closed behind them, and additional layers of metal slid into place. No signal could get in or out of this section of the base. It was a black site, one of humanity's most closely guarded secrets. Ambassador Hana stepped off the ship and immediately saw her waiting. Director Jiwon stood at the bottom of the ramp, wearing a black uniform with no insignia or rank markers. She was in her 50s with short gray hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. Behind her stood two other people. One was Dr. Suji, a woman in a white lab coat with tired eyes and permanent ink stains on her fingers. The other was Commander Taeyang, a man built like a soldier with scars on his hands and a cold expression. 72 hours, Jiwon said without greeting. It was not a question. 72 hours, Hana confirmed. They want 70% of everything and governors on our worlds. If we refuse, they say we'll be left to face the galaxy alone. Jiwon smiled, but there was no humor in it. Good, it's finally happening. Come with me, all of you. They walked through corridors that went deep into the moon's surface. The walls were thick metal, reinforced against everything from explosions to quantum scanning. They passed security checkpoints where armed guards stood with weapons that looked far more advanced than anything humanity was supposed to have. These soldiers wore armor that seemed to absorb light, making them hard to focus on even when standing still. They reached a massive elevator that descended for what felt like miles. When the doors finally opened, they stepped into something that should not exist. The cavern was enormous, carved out of the moon's interior over decades, and it was full of ships, hundreds of them, maybe thousands, all hanging in perfect rows from the ceiling or sitting on the floor. These were not the old, clunky vessels that Earth showed to the galaxy. These were sleek, dangerous machines that looked like they were built to kill. The Ghost Fleet, Diho whispered, even though he had seen it before. It never stopped being impressive. Jiwon walked to a railing that overlooked the cavern. 40 years ago, when we first made contact with the Velcorians, our leaders realized something important. We were late to the galactic stage. Every other species had thousands of years of space travel under their belts. They had established territories, powerful weapons, and alliances that kept them safe. We had nothing. Dr. Suji picked up the story. So we made a choice. We would appear weak. We would show them old technology, small fleets, and primitive defenses. We would let them think we were helpless. While we built this, Commander Taeyang added, gesturing to the ships, every single one of these vessels uses quantum stealth technology. They're invisible to every scanner in the known galaxy. We've tested them against Velcorian, Lumen, and Chiton sensors. Nothing can see them unless we want to be seen. Hana looked at the ships with pride. She had known about the project since the beginning, had helped secure funding through hidden channels, but seeing the fleet always filled her with a strange mixture of emotions. How many ships total? She asked. 2,347 combat vessels, Jiwon replied, ranging from small fighters to dreadnoughts that make Velcorian flagships look like toys. And every single one is crewed and ready to fly. Daho turned to look at Jiwon. What about the crews? Where did we find that many trained personnel? We recruited them young, Commander Taeyang said. From every nation on Earth. We told their families they were going to serve in the defense force, which was technically true. But instead of putting them on the old ships we showed to the galaxy, we trained them here, in secret. For 20 years, we've been running the most intensive military training program in human history. Dr. Suji walked to a console and pulled up data on a holographic screen. The other species don't understand humans, she said. They come from paradise worlds where food was plentiful and predators were few. They evolved to be strong in individual combat but weak in strategy. Humans are different. We come from Earth. She pulled up an image of their home planet. The blue and green sphere looked peaceful from space, but Suji's expression was serious. Earth is a death world by galactic standards. The gravity is higher than most civilized planets. The atmosphere is harsh. The weather is extreme. There are diseases, predators, and natural disasters everywhere. Everything on Earth evolved to survive in hell. And humans, Jiwan continued, became the apex predator not through strength, but through endurance and intelligence. We hunted animals by following them for days until they collapsed from exhaustion. We survived ice ages and droughts. We turned every disadvantage into an advantage. That's what we're good at. Adapting, surviving, winning against impossible odds. Hana crossed her arms. So when the Velkorians show up with their fleet in 72 hours, what happens? Commander Taiyang grinned. It was not a nice expression. We've already infiltrated their ships. Every single vessel in their war fleet has human code buried deep in its systems. They don't know it's there. It's been there for years, actually. Every time they upgrade their software, they unknowingly bring our code with them. You've hacked their entire fleet? Deho asked, surprised. Not just their fleet, Dr. Suji said. Every major military system in the Velkorian Empire. And the Lumens. And the Chitons. And everyone else who ever thought they could threaten us. We've been inside their network since we joined the galactic community. We learned their languages, studied their code, and planted backdoors in everything. G1 pulled up another display, this one showing star charts. Red dots marked human colonies. Blue dots marked the colonies of other species. But there were also green dots scattered throughout the galaxy. Hundreds of them. These green markers, G1 explained, are secret human outposts. Research stations. Weapons platforms. Monitoring bases. We've been expanding into dark space, the regions between established territories where nobody looks. We control more territory than anyone suspects. The Velkorians think they're about to conquer a weak species, Commander Taiyang said. Instead, they're about to face a trap 40 years in the making. Hana took a deep breath. This was the moment they had been preparing for since first contact. What do we need from the government? Permission to defend Earth, Jiwan said simply. Once the Velkorians arrive, we need authorization to show them who we really are. You'll have it, Hana promised. I'll speak to the president myself. But G1, are we ready? Really ready? If this goes wrong, if we lose, there's no going back. Earth becomes a slave world. Jiwan looked at her with absolute confidence. Ambassador, we've been ready since day one. The only question was when the galaxy would force us to stop hiding. Turns out the answer is now. They spent the next hour reviewing battle plans. The strategy was elegant in its simplicity. Let the Velkorians arrive in Earth's solar system. Let them feel confident and strong. Let them threaten Mars' colony to demonstrate their power, and then activate the code buried in their systems. Shut down their shields, their weapons, their engines. Leave them helpless in space. Then reveal the Ghost Fleet. Show them 2,000 ships appearing from nowhere. Board every Velkorian vessel simultaneously. Take prisoners instead of killing, because that would send an even stronger message. It said, we could have destroyed you, but we chose mercy. Be grateful. As the meeting ended, Daiho pulled Jiwan aside. What happens after this? He asked quietly. After we reveal ourselves? The galaxy will never trust us again. Good, Jiwan replied. Trust is for equals. We don't need them to trust us. We need them to respect us. To fear us enough that they never threaten us again. And once they see what we've hidden for 50 years, they'll spend the next century wondering what else we're hiding. Are we hiding more? Daiho asked. Jiwan smiled. Captain, the Ghost Fleet is just what we built in the first 20 years. Do you really think we stopped there? She walked away, leaving Daiho standing in the corridor. He looked back at the massive cavern full of warships, at the symbol of humanity's secret strength. And he wondered what other secrets were buried in the dark corners of the solar system, waiting for their moment to be revealed. The countdown had begun. In less than 72 hours, the Velkorians would arrive, and humanity would finally show the galaxy what happens when you mistake patience for weakness. The council chamber floated in the void of space, a massive ring of metal and glass that orbited the neutral world of Zentara Prime. Inside, 7 species gathered around a circular table that glowed with soft blue light. Each species had their own section, their own seats, their own flags hanging from the curved ceiling above. Ambassador Hana sat in the human section, her hands folded on the table in front of her. She wore a simple gray suit, nothing fancy. Her black hair was pulled back in a tight bun. She looked calm, but her heart was beating fast. Next to her sat Captain Daiho, wearing his Earth Defense Force uniform. The dark blue fabric had small silver stars on the shoulders. He kept his face neutral, showing no emotion. Across from them, the Velkorian representative rose from his seat. He was tall, nearly 8 feet, with scales that shimmered green and gold under the lights. His name was Thexnor, and he was not just a diplomat. He was a war marshal, a military commander who had conquered many worlds. His yellow eyes looked at Hana with something close to pity. "Humans," Thexnor said, his voice deep and rumbling. "You have been part of our galactic community for 50 years now. In that time, we have watched you. We have studied you. And we have reached a conclusion." Hana said nothing. She just waited. Thexnor gestured to a holographic display that appeared above the table. It showed Earth, its moon, and the small collection of human ships that floated in nearby space. There were maybe 30 vessels total, all of them old designs that humanity had built decades ago. "Your species is weak," Thexnor continued. "Your technology is primitive. Your military is small. Your worlds are few. You cannot protect yourselves in this galaxy. You need protection." A crystalline being made of living light nodded in agreement. This was a lumen, a species that existed as pure energy held together by quantum fields. They spoke with multiple voices at once, creating an eerie harmony. "The data supports this assessment," the lumen said. "Humanity ranks last among the 7 great civilizations in every measurable category. Military strength, technological advancement, resource production, territorial control, last in all metrics." Captain Deho shifted slightly in his seat, but he still said nothing. Hana gave him a quick glance, a silent signal to stay quiet. "Therefore," Thexnor said, spreading his clawed hands wide, "the Council has decided to offer you protection. The Velkorian Empire will take Earth and all human colonies under our wing. We will defend you from threats. We will guide your development. In return, you will provide us with 70% of your resources and accept Velkorian governors on your worlds." The words hung in the air like poison. 70%. Governors on Earth. This was not protection. This was conquest dressed in polite language. Hana finally spoke. Her voice was soft but clear. "And if we refuse?" Thexnor smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. "Then you will be left alone. Unprotected. And when the pirates come, when the raiders arrive, when hostile species decide to take what they want from your weak worlds, the Council will not help you. You will face the darkness alone." Another species spoke up. This was a chitin, an insect-like being with a hard shell and multiple arms. "It is not a threat," the chitin said in clicking, translated speech. "It is simply reality. The galaxy is dangerous. Weak species do not survive without strong patrons." Hana stood up slowly. Captain Deho stood with her. They both looked around the council chamber, meeting the eyes of every species present. Some looked away. Others stared back with cold calculation. "We need time to discuss this with our government," Hana said. "This is not a decision I can make alone." Thexnor nodded. "Of course. You have 72 hours. Return to Earth. Consult with your leaders. But understand this, Ambassador Hana. The galaxy does not wait for the weak. You will accept our protection, or you will face the consequences of your pride." The council session ended. Hana and Deho walked through the long corridors of the station toward their ship. They passed aliens of all kinds. Some ignored them. Others pointed and whispered. Humans were a novelty, a curious species that had appeared from a quiet corner of the galaxy 50 years ago. Their ship, the Horizon Dawn, waited in the docking bay. It was small compared to the massive Velkorian warships nearby. Those ships were like floating cities covered in weapons and armor. The Horizon Dawn looked like a toy next to them. Once they were inside and the doors sealed, Deho finally let his calm mask drop. 70%, he said, anger in his voice. "They want to take everything and leave us with scraps." Hana sat in the command chair and rubbed her temples. "They think we're helpless. They've always thought that. Should we tell them the truth?" Deho asked. "No," Hana said firmly. "Not yet. We stick to the plan. We've been hiding for 50 years. We can hide for 72 more hours." The Horizon Dawn left the station and jumped into faster-than-light travel. Through the windows, stars stretched into lines of light. They were heading home back to Earth, back to the moon base where the truth was hidden. As they traveled, Hana pulled up a secret file on her personal terminal. The screen showed a simple title, Project Vanguard. Under that title were schematics, data files, and classified reports. She had memorized all of it long ago, but she still looked at it sometimes, just to remind herself that everything they had done was real. Captain Deho stood behind her chair. "Do you think they'll believe us when we say no?" he asked. "No," Hana replied. "They'll think we're fools. They'll think we're choosing death over slavery. And then, Hana closed the file and looked at the stars rushing past. And then they'll learn that humanity is very good at surviving. We've been doing it for thousands of years on a planet that tried to kill us every single day. What's a few alien empires compared to that? Daiho smiled for the first time since the council meeting. Director Jiwon is going to love this. Director Jiwon has been waiting for this, Hana corrected. We all have. The Horizon Dawn continued its journey through the void. Behind them, the Galactic Council celebrated what they thought was an easy victory. The Valkorians were already planning which human cities they would occupy first. The Lumens were calculating resource extraction rates. The Titans were discussing breeding programs to make humans more useful as workers. None of them knew the truth. None of them suspected what humanity had built in secret. None of them understood what was about to happen. In 72 hours, the galaxy would change forever. In 72 hours, humanity would show its true face, and the species that had mocked Earth's weakness would learn a terrible lesson about underestimating a species that had clawed its way up from the bottom of the food chain on a death world. The tremor was coming. The galaxy just didn't know it yet.